Before we dive in, if you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance you're building your Birthwork business on your own. And honestly, that's one of the hardest parts. The Your Birth Biz membership is where you stop doing it alone and get monthly coaching, community, and the kind of support that actually understands this work. Doors are opening really soon for a very short window. Get on the waitlist at yourbirthbiz.com/membership waitlist, and you'll be the first to hear when they open. Now, let's get into it. This episode is going to be a little bit different to usual. You'll probably learn things about me that you never knew, and maybe you'll be wondering why I'm even telling you them. But bear with me, as it will become clear as we go along. So you may or may not know this bit already, but I spent much of my early career working in youth justice and then in youth homelessness and eventually family homelessness. And I want to tell you about a young lad that I once knew. He was about 17 when I met him first. He was tapping, that means begging, on a street in Dublin. And this lad was so gassy, he was really funny, but he was intelligent too. And he was absolutely full of potential, completely alone in the world, completely abandoned by it, and he had abandoned it too. And I spent years working with dozens, if sadly not hundreds, of young men and boys like him in youth justice and in homeless services from age 12 up to age 25. And what I learned over and over again in case after case was this. Behind almost every young person who had fallen through the cracks, there was a story of a family that hadn't been supported. A mother who felt broken, a mother who believed that she had failed, a mother and a family that were left without the village that they needed. And that always stayed with me. It still does to this day. I think about the families and the young men that I worked with in those services often, and how things could have been different for them had they had a different level of support in their lives. So when I was still working in the field, I found myself pregnant and feeling very much alone because, and I want to be honest with you here, because even though I'm a bit embarrassed and I don't really like to talk about myself and my own stories too much, and it really isn't what the kind of story that most people I know of my age have had. And it certainly wasn't anywhere near the imaginary picture perfect moment I thought I would have when I became pregnant sometime in the future. I was only about a year separated from my then husband, and I wasn't in an actual relationship. And when I told people I was pregnant and we were going to give things a go as a couple, my world got very, very small very quickly. And most of my friends disappeared, the ones I'd relied on since I was 8 years old. So I was navigating things I never expected to navigate alone. But to cut a very long story short, I found my village. I found it in a charity called Quidju, in an antenatal class, in breastfeeding group that met every week, where I walked in as a new mother, scared of everything, and I walked out feeling held and over time as someone different, more confident, more capable, more able. And the women I met there are still my friends almost 13 years later. So shout out to the Baby Link girls who are coming over for drinks and nibbles to celebrate me moving back into my new house this Friday. But that support changed the trajectory of my life, and I'm not being dramatic, it really did. And it really made me understand something that I now say to every one of my lactation clients when I meet them nearly. We were never meant to do this alone. We were meant to have our mammies, our grannies, our aunties, our cousins, our sisters, everybody there crowded around us. We were meant to have them show us the way in parenting, to care for us as we cared for our new babies. In modern life, that village is completely and utterly scattered, and so sometimes we have to build our own, and sometimes that means bringing in paid support. Professionals who know what they're doing, who show up when it matters, and who hold the space when no one else can or nobody else is willing to. That's what we as birth workers in all of our varieties do. But here's what's happening right now. All over Ireland, all over the world, there are extraordinary doulas, lactation consultants, hypnobirthing teachers, antenatal educators, postnatal practitioners who are dedicating their time and energy to supporting families through one of the most important transitions a human being will ever go through. And they're invisible, not because they're not good enough, not because the need isn't there, but because nobody taught them how to be visible. Nobody taught them their work was worth charging for. Nobody gave them permission to market themselves, to build a business, to take up space. The medical system doesn't value them. The public health system doesn't fund them adequately or at all. And they themselves, because they choose this work out of love and desire to help and serve, often feel uncomfortable positioning themselves as professionals who deserve to be compensated well. So what happens? They burn out. They undercharge, they overdeliver, they disappear from practice, and the families who needed them never find them. Let me tell you about one of my lactation clients. She's ADHD. She had stayed on her medication throughout her pregnancy and was managing well and continued to take it after the baby was born. But now in postpartum, everything was getting much harder for her. The executive function challenges that come along with ADHD that she had learned to kind of manage over the years suddenly felt totally overwhelming again. She called me because she was struggling with breastfeeding. But when we talked, it became really clear that breastfeeding was almost the least of it. She was struggling to eat, to drink enough water, to keep herself and her baby clean, to manage the basic fundamental tasks of survival on top of feeding and taking care of a newborn. And she was an immigrant in this country. She had no family nearby. She had a very limited support network. But because she was brave enough to ask for help and she found me, a neurodiversity informed practitioner, together we were able to put really simple structures in place, ways to make sure that she was eating and drinking while she fed her baby as well. Ways to activate the support system she did have around her, and ways to make life just that bit more manageable. She didn't fall apart. Her baby thrived and she came through it okay. It wasn't a breeze by any means. She still struggled, as many new mothers do, but she was able to ride the ebbs and flows and come out of the haze unbroken, which unfortunately isn't the case for many. What if that support I gave hadn't been there? What if I hadn't built a business that meant that I could be found by the people who needed me? That's what I'm talking about here. I believe that supporting families through pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum period is one of the most powerful things we can do to change the world. Not in a soft, vague, aspirational way, in a real, evidence-based, sociologically grounded way. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, while not a perfect theory, it does a good job of explaining this. The hierarchy of needs tells us that there are 5 levels of needs that we have, and we can't focus on the needs in the level above until the base needs are met. And the top layer is self-actualization, or the realizing of one's potential. But many new parents' base physiological needs are not being met in modern society, which means that not just are they far away from reaching their greatest potential as humans and as a parent, but can also struggle with feeling safe, love and connection, and with their self-esteem. And all of this affects how they show up as a parent and how they parent their babies and then their children. What we need is supported parents, because supported parents have the physiological and safety needs met, which means they can then focus more on love and connection and self-esteem. Supported parents raise children differently. They parent from a place of confidence rather than survival. They repair when things go wrong. They build secure attachment. They raise children who grow into adults with a greater capacity for connection, for resilience, for contribution. And believe me, this isn't about blaming parents for not doing, quote, a good enough job. This is about looking at the societal structures that don't allow families to flourish. We as birth workers can literally shape the next generation. Every time a doula walks into a room, every time a lactation consultant picks up the phone, every time an antenatal educator helps a woman understand that she has choices, that her body is capable, that her instincts matter. Agency, self-esteem. Every time we give parents agency, that matters. That helps them move through the 5 layers of needs. Agency matters so much, because one of the biggest wounds I see in new parents is that loss of agency, and I'm sure you've seen it too. The sense that birth happened to them, that they couldn't feed their baby and somehow it was their fault, that they're doing it wrong, that they need permission from someone in authority before they trust themselves or trust their babies. As birth workers, you give that agency back. You say, You know more than you think you do, and I'm here to help you access it. So what do we do with all of this? We all know the public health system is not going to solve it. It doesn't have the capacity, it doesn't have the culture, and frankly, it doesn't always have the will. So the answer is us. It's the women listening to or watching to this right now in communities like this one, all over the country, all over the world, who are doing the work every single day. But we need more of them. We need more of you. And we need those of you who are already doing it to be able to sustain it, to stay doing this work. That means charging what the work is worth, not because money is the point, but because as a birth worker who is financially stable, you can keep going. You can take the clients who can't afford the full rate. You can keep showing up year after year without burnout to give these families the support that they need. That means getting visible, building a business, telling people what you do and why it matters, letting yourself be found by the families who need you. That means backing yourself, because here is what I want you to understand. And I want you to carry this away with you today. You're not just running a small business. You are part of the solution to everything that is broken in the world. I honestly believe that. Every family you support is a ripple. Every child who grows up feeling held and seen is a ripple. Every mother who thrives in matrescence instead of crumbling is a ripple. All ripples that can start with you, because every generation that does it better than the one before matters. I started this work like many of you because when I needed a village, I found one. I keep doing this work because I know what it means when families that don't get the support that they need. I've seen what happens. I've seen it in the jobs that I've done. I've seen it in all of the work that I've done. I've seen it in the breastfeeding groups. I've seen it in the countless women's couches that I've sat on as they cried into their half-eaten breakfast because the baby needed feeding again. And nobody was there to help them. You are important. Your work is important, and you deserve to build a business that tells the world that you exist, because the world needs you to exist. Thank you for listening today, and I just want you to know that you can be the change. You are the change, so keep on going. Keep doing this work because the families need you. And that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If anything we talked about today resonated and you're thinking, I need more of this, but with actual support around me, that's exactly what the Your Birth Biz Besties membership is. Coaching, community, and people who genuinely get the world that you work in. Doors open really soon for a really short time, so jump on the waitlist at yourbirthbiz.com/membership waitlist. The link is in the show notes.